Budgeting for recruitment. Just a very, very simple methodology of how to create your recruitment budget. So we'll start off, first of all, you're going to need a recruitment strategy. You're going to need to know targets, your total lifetime value, the staff acquisition cost, campaign length, and then from that we can create a recruitment campaign budget. So what's a recruitment strategy? Well, we need to work out the finances, we need to set the target number of care workers that we're trying to recruit. We then set the budget that we're going to use to do that. We're going to set the timelines of how long it's going to take for each campaign. You're going to need to know your demographics of what person you're going to go for and whereabouts they live. You're going to choose your recruitment marketing channels, and then you're going to set up pipelines and funnels, and then set up KPI trackers so you can track your return on investment and track how effective your recruitment campaign is. And then once you've done all that, you can then create and implement your recruitment marketing plan. However, for this presentation, we're only dealing with the first four. We're going to look at how to work out the finances. We're going to look at targeting the number of care workers, set the budget, and set the timelines. And that's what we're concerned about in this particular presentation. So how many staff do you need? That's your target. How many do you actually need? We're then going to calculate the actual value of a staff member, and that's the total lifetime value. What are you prepared to pay to acquire a member of staff? That's your staff acquisition cost. Over what period? How long is that campaign going to last? And then from that, we can actually put a budget to that campaign, and then we can design the campaign. So how many staff? Decide how many staff you want or need. So it could be because they're filling backfill gaps. So for example, you could be a care home with using a high rate of agency because you haven't got enough staff. So you know how many staff you need in order to bring down your agency costs. So you'll need to know how many you need to do that. Or you might want extra staff in order to expand. So for a domiciliary care agency, for example, it could be that you want to add your staff because then you can grow the business. Let's take home care as an example for home care expansion. We want to expand by 250 hours per week. So that's the target, is expand by 250 hours per week. Average staff working 25 hours per week. So that's a mix between some full-timers and part-timers. So we say you work out what the average is, and we've chosen 25 hours being the average amount that a staff member works for this example. 250 divided by 25 is 10. So if you want to increase your weekly hours, say from 500 hours a week to 750 hours a week, or from 750 hours a week to 1,000 hours a week, then you need 10 extra staff. So that's now, we've created how many staff that we need for that example. In a care home, for example, it could be that you're using 175 hours of agency staff every single week. And obviously that's an expense and you want to cut that out. And it could be that your average staff in a shift and in an employee in the care home works 35 hours a week. So 175 divided by 35 is 5 staff. So you need 5 extra staff in that particular example. Care home, probably a little bit easier than home care to work out because you'll have shifts, set shifts, and you'll kind of know where your gaps are anyway. So you'll know how many staff that you need to recruit over a certain period of time. We now need to determine the staff value, and this is really important to dictate how much money we want to put in and we're prepared to put into any kind of recruitment campaign. So we're going to use home care as an example here. Home care charge rate is £20 per hour, for example. So you need to know the cost of staff, and that staff cost is made up of pay rate, travel time, mileage, holiday pay, national insurance, training, supervision, pension contributions, and anything else you can put in there. So let's say in this example, all those costs together come to £15 an hour. That's what the staff cost the business. So your gross profit there is your £20 that you're charging minus the £15 which is the staff member delivering the care, and that's a gross profit of £5 an hour. Obviously, we're not talking about any admin costs here, so we're not talking about net profit, where you would then take all the kind of overhead and the office costs. We're just looking at the gross profit here. So that's £5 an hour. So if a staff member, remember we said in this example, we said that the staff member works an average of 25 hours per week. In home care people and in care homes, people will work all sorts of different, some will be part-time, some will be full-time. So you need just to work this thing out, you need to know what your average is. So we've chosen 25 hours per week for here. So £5 an hour times by 25 is £125 per week gross profit that one staff member contributes to the business. So it's 48 working weeks in the year because they've got 4 weeks holiday. So that means that they contribute 125 times by 48, so that's £6,000 per annum of gross profit. So one staff member contributes £6,000 per annum of gross profit. So if you want 10 staff are worth 6,000 times 10 of £60,000 of gross profit if you were to recruit 10 extra staff in this particular example. So we said that 10 staff are worth £60,000. And I assume that they then stay with you for 3 years. Now, some staff may last a year, some might be with you for 10 years. So you've got to kind of pick a figure where you've got a target and you'll say that, right, okay, I want each member of staff to stay at least 3 years. If they stay 3 years and they leave after that, I've had my value out of them. So we're just picking 3 years in this case. 3 years times 60, this is for 10 of them, contributes £180,000 of gross profit. So we've already worked out that 10 staff, one staff member delivers 6,000, so 10 per year. 10 will deliver 60,000. That means over 3 years, you'll have a total of £180,000 gross profit. That's the lifetime that staff member is with you, that 3 years lifespan. So the 10 staff will generate 180,000 over their lifetime of employment with you. And that's your staff lifetime value, 180,000. So for one person, it's obviously just a tenth of that. The staff lifetime value for one person is £18,000. So that's £6,000 that we worked out earlier on, multiplied by the 3 years, 18,000. So we've now found what the staff lifetime value is to you as a business. Now you know how much a staff member is worth to you, you can now allocate an amount that you're willing to spend to acquire that new employee. So, for example, if I said to you, give me £3,000 and I'll give you £180,000 back. Most people would think that is a pretty good deal. That's a no-brainer. Yeah, 3,000 for 180,000 back. Yeah, I'm in for that. But for some reason, you put it in a care context, and most people I come across suddenly think that's a bad deal. If I say to them, spend £3,000 on recruitment for one person or for 10 people or a recruitment campaign, a lot of people that I've come across say, that's too expensive, I haven't got that kind of money. And that's why you need to know what the lifetime value is so that you can put the spend in context. You can put that spend of what you want to spend in some kind of context. So that's why we're starting off at the first principles here. That's why we're starting off at the very beginning to work out what these people are worth. So what are you prepared to pay? We use £3,000 there in a figure, but what are you actually prepared to pay? If 10 staff are worth £180,000 gross profit over their lifetime, over the 3 years that we've chosen, what are you willing to spend to add 180,000 gross profit? Now you can set your budget at whatever you like, whatever you think is worthwhile to generate £180,000 of gross profit. Now the Home Care Association set staff recruitment in their budgeting model. They set it at 1.5% of care worker costs. So if your care worker costs are £15 an hour that we worked out before, and made up of the following: pay rate, travel time, mileage, holiday, employer, NHS, and all the other things, then the recruitment costs of 1.5% of £15 is £0.225, which is 22.5 pence. So that's 22.5 pence per hour based on the Home Care Association's figures. So for 10 staff working a year, at an average of 25 hours that we're using for this example, that gives a total of 12,000 hours. So your 10 staff working at 25 hours a week gives a total across the year of 12,000 hours. So a care worker costs are 12,000 times 15, which is 180,000 a year. So using a figure of 1.5%, that comes up at 2,700. That's 1.5% of 180,000 is 2,700. So you've now found your budget to recruit 10 care staff. That's based on the Home Care Association model. As being 2,700 or £270 per person, because obviously that's 10 people is 2,700, so for one person it's 270 if that person stays at least a year. So your staff acquisition cost is £270. But £270 is only based on the Care Association. What you decide is totally up to you. You could say, I want to spend more. What you've got to ask yourself is, what are you prepared to pay to get £18,000 of gross profit? I'm saying 18,000 here. We said 180,000 before. That was for 10. This is for one person. We're talking about one person now. So one person is £270 per person. and they contribute £18,000 of gross profit over 3 years. So what are you prepared to get that one person? You may decide that £18,000 is worth way more than £270 per person. With more money, you can actually do more things. Obviously, you can do more recruitment, you can do more things. So a startup, and it also depends where you are in your cycle of the business. A startup that's starting from scratch with no current workforce may have to spend more because you've got no staff or client recommendations. You've got new recruitment assets are required, and by that I mean things like your website. You might have to build your website, you might have to make brochures, flyers, paid adverts on an advertising campaign, lots of things that an existing business will already have. So that means that as a startup you might have to spend more. If you're established with lots of staff already and a reputation, you can probably spend a bit less. So let's say I'm prepared to save more. Let's say I'm going to pay £300 per person. There's no real working out that I've just decided that's what I've got, that's what I can afford, that's what I've got. I know that it should be 270. I want to spend a little bit more, so I'm going to put it up to £300 per person. So for 10 new staff, which I've already worked out before, that's what I need to grow to my requirements. My 10 staff, my budget is 300 times 10 is 3,000. So I want to be spending £3,000 to get those 10 people through the door. So your total lifetime value, this is for one person, £18,000. That's what we've worked out now. Staff acquisition cost is £300 per person. That's what we've put it at. And the marketing budget is that 300 multiplied by 10, because we want the 10 people, so it's £3,000. So we've now calculated a marketing budget to undertake a marketing campaign to get 10 staff on board, and we've set £3,000. Again, it's totally up to you. You could double that if you want, if you think you want to spend more money. If you think it's worth more, we're using it for this as an example. But they're the three figures you really need to work on. So now you need to know over what period of time are you going to run this campaign for. So you need to define the time frame for the recruitment activity. And that's so you can set goals, you can measure it, because what gets measured gets done, so you have to measure everything that you're doing, and then you can calculate your return on investment. Your return on investment is, if you're spending £3,000, you might get more than 10 people, you might get less than 10 people. Remember, these are just guidelines to start off with until it actually happens. Once you've actually recruited people, you may get 12, 13 in, but you've actually spent less money. It's actually cost you less than 3,000. You might spend 3,000 and only get 8 in. Then you can actually calculate how much it's cost you. What is your return on that investment? And the money can be targeted then to the best recruitment activity, and we call them channels. So, for example, Indeed is a channel, Facebook is a channel, your website is a channel. Any particular route that somebody finds you and comes into your organisation or makes an inquiry, we call it a channel. So you can then target your money at the best channels that work well for you. And you can spread the cost. It doesn't have to be £3,000 in one go, because if you're doing it over a period of time, it means that you can pay over a period of time. That makes it a little bit easier on the finances. So it doesn't have to be paid all at once. You can plan the marketing and the client and the care worker acquisition over a period of time. So we've set a target of 10 new staff and a total budget of 3,000. So that's what we'd set in this example. We want 10 new staff, total budget of 3,000, and I'm going to split it over 3 months. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to spend 3 months to get 10 new staff with a budget of 3,000. So that's a target now of 3 or 4 new staff a month to get up to the 10 at a spend of £1,000 a month. So I don't have to spend the 3,000 at once. I can spread it, £1,000 a month, to get 3 or 4 staff in through the door over the 3-month period. So our target, what we have now, our target for new staff to recruit is 10. We've decided that. The time period in which to recruit them is 3 months. So we've now set a time period. And a budget to do it is £3,000. So our target, in summary now, our target 10. Total lifetime value for that 10 is 180,000. These are the things we've calculated. Staff acquisition cost is 2,700. That's for the 10. These are all for the 10 now. The campaign length is 3 months, and the recruitment campaign is 3,000. So we've now got these key numbers that we can start using to budget and to start creating our recruitment campaign, and we can start measuring things. These are the basic numbers that you need to know. How many people are you trying to recruit? 10. What's the total lifetime value of those people? Well, all 10, it's 180,000 over 3 years. What's the what's the staff acquisition cost? Well, we've decided over the 10, we've worked it out as 2,700 for those 10. That's what it's going to cost us. What's the campaign length? It's 3 months. We've set it at 3 months. Could be more, could be less. We've set it at 3 months. Recruitment campaign budget, we've decided to go up above the 2,700. We're setting it at 3,000. So now we've got some key figures that we can start measuring and seeing what the actuals will come in against this. So what next? Well, now you've worked out those key parts. You now have to find the best way to spend that 3,000. And that is, you now need to start researching your recruitment marketing channels. So as we said before, your recruitment marketing channel could be Indeed, it's Facebook, it's a Google pay-per-click or PPC campaign, it's the Care Friends app, it's recommendations, it's flyers going out, it's everything you can think of. And in the clients we work with, and in my own care company, we have well over 30 different channels that we put into a plan, and we budget every single one. So then from that, we create a recruitment marketing activity plan. And that is a spreadsheet out over the 3 months. We do it over the 13-week period. And we say what we're going to do on each week with a budget set against it. And we allocate a budget to each channel. So we can measure that, and we can measure the effectiveness of each channel. And then we can look at the effectiveness of the channel and the return on investment we're getting. So we might find out that some channels work better than others. So in this case, you can alter it as you go along and say, right, I'm not going to spend money in there, I'm going to put my budget into there. So you can work out what is the best return on investment and best channel for you. And then you can create recruitment marketing collateral from that. So that's your things like your staff brochures, your website, a website focusing on recruitment. It's videos that you send out to potential new staff. It's anything that is involving in recruitment. And then you create recruitment funnels and lots more. So there's an awful lot of stuff to do once you've got those key figures that we've just talked about. And you can't really do anything until you've got those figures. And that's why we're talking about creating that budget, because from there we can start looking and seeing what the best ways to do it are. You measure it, you measure that marketing activity, and it might be that you find that flyers work really well for you, but actually paid Facebook adverts don't. You might find that flyers are not very good, but paid Facebook adverts work really well. You might find, you know, there's all sorts of different ways, but if you don't measure them, until you measure them, you don't know that. And the trouble with a lot of people end up falling into the trap by not knowing their figures beforehand and not having their budget. You can fall into the trap of being sold a solution from somebody that wants to sell you Indeed, you know, from Indeed ringing you up and selling you adverts, from Facebook pay-per-click campaigns, from Care Friends trying to sell you this solution. And when people are selling you a solution, they're always trying to get you to spend money with them, and the power is with them if you haven't got your own figures. You're switching that by knowing your figures, by knowing what you want to achieve, the power is with you. You can then make decisions about which channels you're going to use. And by using them all initially to find out what works and measuring it all, then you can actually see what actually works for you. And that way, over time, you can actually put all your money into the things that work for you, and you know what works for you because you've actually measured it, and the power's with you. Instead of being sold a solution, you're going out to find the solution. And that's a very different way of doing it. Lots more to do, but that's for next time. You know, we're not going to cover it. This was just a quick video on budgeting. You've got your budget, you've got your key figures, and everything else is for next time. If you want to know more, follow me. I'm on Twitter at CrowtherSci. On Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn. Join the home care, if you're a home care business, join the home care Outstanding Home Care Network, which is on Facebook. Just type in the Outstanding Home Care Network. That's a group. There's 1,400 owners and registered managers of home care businesses in there, swapping lots of ideas and lots of advice. And also anybody that's coming on this live seminar gets a free email recruitment course. So I'll send out emails over a period of time. So if you want to know more, just follow me on there, and you can do.